So today we will take up the Boltzmann's theorem that is actually giving you the relation between entropy and the probability. Okay, so Boltzmann's theorem basically gives you the relation between the entropy and the probability. You know that entropy is a measure of disorderness of the system. Entropy is measure of disorderness of the system. Probability is basically, it is a ratio of the number of microstates divided by total number of possible microstates. That is thermodynamic probability. Okay, so that thermodynamic probability we have discussed in one of the previous classes. So what this Boltzmann's theorem says, let us take that. According to Boltzmann's explanation of a physical system, a system left to itself attains the state of maximum entropy and it takes the state of maximum probability. Okay, so the state can be found in different microstates. So it will be observed in maximum entropy if a system is left to itself. So what it means, if a particular system is left for a long time, it will gain maximum entropy and also it will be found in the macro state which will have the maximum probability. Okay, so that is the statement from Boltzmann's theorem. That means the entropy and probability that will increase with time if system is left to itself. So therefore, entropy S of a system must be some function of probability of the state. So according to the statement, it is clear that the entropy is a function of the probability, thermodynamic probability basically. So entropy and probability are having the relation between themselves, okay, relation between them. So according to this statement, you can say that S is equal to F of omega. Entropy is a function of the thermodynamic probability, where S is the entropy, omega is the thermodynamic probability of the system. Okay, so this is the simple Boltzmann's theorem, and today we have to find out what is the expression for S in terms of omega. That is our aim. Okay, so here S is a function of omega. Now to prove this Boltzmann's theorem, consider two independent systems, 1 and 2. Let us take two systems, system 1 and system 2, having entropies S1 and S2. System 1 has entropy S1, system 2 has entropy S2. Let omega 1 and omega 2 be the probabilities of the systems with these entropies respectively. That is, omega 1 is the thermodynamic probability of system 1, omega 2 is the thermodynamic probability of system 2. Okay, so S1 and S2 are the entropies, omega 1 and omega 2 are the thermodynamic probabilities of the systems. Okay, system 1 and 2. So then if systems are combined, okay, if systems are combined, the resultant entropy of the system, let it be S12. S12 is the total entropy if system 1 and system 2 are combined. Okay, when they are mixed, then entropy will become S12. That will be a function of the product of probabilities, that is omega 1 into omega 2. So that entropy of combined system is equal to function of omega 1 and omega 2. Okay, that is very important point. So it is observed that when two systems are combined, the entropy will become additive. Additive means the total entropy of the combined system will be sum of entropies of individual systems. And probabilities of the system, that will be the product of probabilities, omega 1 into omega 2. Okay, so for a combined system, the entropy is additive and the probability is multiplicative. Okay, entropy is additive, that means sum of entropy, and probability of combined system will be multiplicative. Therefore, the total entropy of the combined system S12 will be equal to S1 plus S2, which will be function of omega 1 into omega 2 because probability is multiplicative. Okay, So therefore, you will come to know that S1 plus S2 is equal to F of omega 1 into omega 2. What is S1? We know that S1 is the entropy of first system whose probability is omega 1. Therefore, I have S1 is equal to F of omega 1 and S2 which is equal to F of omega 2. Okay, S1 is F of omega 1 because according to Boltzmann's statement, entropy of the system is a function of its probability. S1 is a function of omega 1, S2 is a function of omega 2. Then substitute here, you put S1 is equal to F of omega 1, S2 is equal to F of omega 2. That will be equal to F of omega 1 into omega 2. So you will get a particular equation which is having function of omega 1 and omega 2. Now you differentiate this equation partially with respect to omega 1 and omega 2, one after the other. First, you differentiate this equation with respect to omega 1 partially. So partial differentiation means if you differentiate partially with respect to omega 1, then omega 2 should be considered as constant. It is a partial differentiation. Dou of F of omega 1, F of omega 2 is considered to be constant. Therefore, derivative of this function is 0. That is equal to omega 2 is constant. Therefore, omega 2 is taken out and you will have dou of F of omega 1 into omega 2. Okay, omega 2 is a constant. That's why I have taken omega 2 outside. If you differentiate this equation with respect to omega 2 by taking omega 1 as a constant, it is a partial differentiation. You will get dou of F of omega 2, which is equal to omega 1 into dou of F of omega 1 into omega 2. Two equations you have got. You try to make the right hand side equal. ಎರಡು observe ಮಾಡ್ರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ omega 2 ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ omega 1 ಇದೆ. What I can do, I can multiply this equation, this first equation by omega 1, and I can multiply this equation by omega 2. Then right hand side will become equal. Okay, that technique you have to use. So multiply this first equation by omega 1. So you will get omega 1 into dou of F of omega 1 is equal to omega 1 into omega 2 into dou of F of omega 1 into omega 2. Multiply this second equation by omega 2. You will get omega 2 into dou of F of omega 2 is equal to omega 1 into omega 2 into dou of F of omega 1 into omega 2 you will get. Look at these two equations, right hand sides are equal. Right hand side are equal. So left hand sides must be equal. So this is function of F of omega 1 and omega 2 where omega 1 and omega 2 are independent functions. Therefore, if these two are equal, this left hand sides are equal, the right hand side must be a constant. That's why omega 1 into dou of F of omega 1 should be equal to omega 2 into dou of F of omega 2. That must be a constant. Okay, so this is constant means for all the states, this is for system 1, this is for system 2. So in general, for all the systems, this omega into derivative of F of omega must be a constant, and we call that constant as K1. So look at this equation, it gives you the probability omega into derivative of F of omega. Okay, some function of omega. This must be a constant. So for any system in general, omega into derivative of F of omega should be a constant, K1. So next we will try to solve this equation. This is the first order differential equation. This is a derivative of F of omega, means it is with respect to omega. It is d by d omega of F of omega is then given. Okay. Next we have this equation, that is omega into derivative of F of omega, that is equal to a constant K1. Next, integrate this equation, integrate or rearrange this equation, separation of variable you can do. Derivative of F of omega should be equal to K1 into d omega by omega. So d omega here comes here because derivative of F of omega means it is d by d omega. That's why d omega will appear on the right hand side. So derivative of f of omega equal to k1 into d omega by omega. Omega is taken here. So separation of variable is done. Integrate this equation. So integration gives you integration of derivative of f of omega is nothing but f of omega. Integration of d omega by omega, that is 1 by omega. Integration of 1 by omega is log of omega. And here I will take ln of omega, that indicates it is a log to the base e of omega. So k1 into integration of this 1 by omega is ln of omega, that is log to the base e of omega, plus some integration constant k2, where k2 is the integration constant. Where k2 is the integration constant. Now we have to find what will be the values of k1 and k2. And definitely this function of omega is nothing but entropy. So f of omega is nothing but entropy of the system. So therefore, you will get entropy of the system S is equal to k1 ln of omega plus k2. And here we have to find what will be the values of k1 and k2 we have to find. Okay. Next, the relation has a general validity. This relation is obtained for a general system. Okay, it is obtained for general system. That's why it is having the general validity. Okay. So it is applicable to all the systems according to this equation. It is applicable to all the systems. It is applicable to the perfect system also. Okay, perfect crystal at 0 degree Kelvin also. It is applicable to the system with zero Kelvin, perfect crystal. According to third law of thermodynamics, at a temperature T is equal to 0 Kelvin, the entropy of the system tends to 0. At absolute 0, the system is observed at perfectly ordered state. Perfectly ordered state means entropy is 0. Okay. Disorder is entropy is antartha. If there is no disorder, it means that entropy is 0. So at absolute 0, the system is found in perfectly ordered state. That's why entropy of the system is 0. If a system is in perfectly ordered state, there is only one state possible for it. So perfectly ordered state, that is a particular state. That's why only one state is possible for it, only one microstate. So probability of that state is 1. That means no other states are possible. Only one state is possible, that is perfectly ordered state. So all other states will have probability 0. This perfectly ordered state has probability 1. Therefore, at absolute 0, at T equal to 0 Kelvin, entropy is 0 and crystal is perfect ordered state. There is only one state possible for it, and probability of that state is omega equal to 1. So perfectly ordered state has probability 1. That's why entropy is 0. It means that omega is 1. You substitute here. You put entropy equal to 0, S equal to 0, omega equal to 1. Ln of omega, that is ln of 1, is a 0. That's why you will get k2 equal to 0. Therefore, k2 will be 0. So k2 is observed to be 0. Integration constant k2 is 0. Therefore, you will have the equation S is equal to k1 into ln of omega. Now, the final step is remaining. What is the value of k1 you have to find? And it can be proved that k1 is equal to R by Na, where R is the gas constant, Na is the Avogadro number. Okay, where this k1 is equal to R by Na, which is called as Boltzmann constant, which is having the value K is equal to 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23 joule per Kelvin. And therefore, we can prove this K1 is equal to the Boltzmann constant. Okay, so therefore, the entropy probability relation is given by S equal to K into ln omega. Just I have substituted for K1, so where K1 is equal to Boltzmann constant K. Therefore, entropy is equal to K into ln omega. That is the relation between entropy and thermodynamic probability. Where K is the Boltzmann constant, the relation connecting entropy of the system with its thermodynamic probability is called as Boltzmann's theorem. So this is the proof for Boltzmann's theorem. So there is very important theorem which relates the thermodynamic entity entropy with the statistical quantity called thermodynamic probability. Okay, it relates the classical thermodynamics with the statistical thermodynamics. Okay, so this is the Boltzmann's theorem. Next, we'll complete one more small part called conservation laws. Okay, so there are two conservation laws we have to consider in statistical physics. One is conservation of the number of particles and conservation of energy. Okay, so conservation laws, number of particle states that in an isolated system consisting of n number of non-interacting particles, the total number of particles is given by n is equal to summation of ni, where ni being number of particles in ith state. So there will be number of state, first state, second state, third state, etc. In each state, you can find some number of particles. In first state, you may find 10 particles. In second state, you can find 20 particles, like that. So what are the total number of particles in the system? That will be equal to summation of those ni's, where ni represents number of particles in the ith state. So according to conservation law, total number of particles remains constant in an isolated system. So remember, system must be isolated. It should not be in contact with the surrounding. It is perfectly insulated system. Then total number of the particles remains constant. That means the summation of delta ni should be equal to 0. So it is just like derivative of ni. Derivative of ni is 0 means ni must be constant. Okay. So delta ni represents the decrease of number of particles in one state, which is equal to increase of number of particles in the other state. So particles may go from one state to other state, but the total number of particles remains constant. So which denotes the conservation of number of particles in the system. It is very, very simple. We should remember summation of delta ni equal to 0. Simple example I will give you. Only two states are there. Let us take two states are there in a system. 10 particles are there. In a system of two states consisting of 10 particles. Initially, let us take 2 particles in the first state, 8 particles in the second state. Okay, what are the total number of particles? There are 10 particles. So because of some interaction, let us take 3 particles are going from second state to first state. 8 particle iruvanta state in the 3 particle ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, that will come to the first state. So what will be the total number of particles in the second state? Then it is equal to 5. In the lower state, in the first state, we'll have 5 particles now. So what is the meaning of this summation of delta ni equal to 0? So what are the change in the number of particles in the second state you take? So in the second state, 3 particles have removed from second state. That's why in the second state, the delta ni is -3. In the first state, delta ni is +3. Okay. Second state ಅಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆಡ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಕರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ delta ni is -3, corresponding to first state delta ni is +3. So total is 0. So it means that the number of particles which are removed from a one state, that is exactly equal to the number of particles added to the another state. So particles can go from one state to another state, but total number of particles remains constant. So that is called as the conservation of number of particles. Okay. Next, another conservation law called conservation of energy. Okay. Similarly, the total energy of the system is conserved. Okay, it is given by E is equal to summation of Ni Ei, where Ei is the energy of particles in ith state. Ni is the number of particles in ith state. Okay, so then according to conservation law, it says that delta of E, summation of delta E, which is equal to summation of Ei into delta Ni should be equal to 0. So let us consider another same example. First state is having the energy E1. Let us take 1 by 2 kT. Second state is having the energy 3 by 2 kT. So total energy of the system must be constant. Okay. Let us take 3 particles are there. 3 particles are there in a system. 2 particles are in the first state. 1 particle is in the second state. So what is the total energy of the system? 2 particles are in first state. That means 2 into half kT, that is equal to kT. 1 particle is in the second state. It is 3 by 2 kT. Okay. So kT plus 3 by 2 kT. How much it is? It is equal to 5 by 2 kT. 5 by 2 kT is the total energy. If 1 particle go from first state to the second state, what will happen? 1 particle is in the first state, 2 particles are in the second state. So now find the total energy. 1 particle is in the first state, that is half kT is the energy. In the second state, 2 particles are there. So what is the total energy? 2 into 3 by 2 kT. So that will be 3 kT. So total energy of the system is 3 kT plus half kT. That is definitely equal to 5 by 2 kT again. Okay. And that's how the total energy of the system remains constant. To understand this concept, we will take one simple example. Okay. One example I will take. Consider this particular example. A system consisting of 6 electrons. A system consisting of 6 electrons has 3 energy states. Okay. With energies half kT, 3 by 2 kT, and 5 by 2 kT. A system consisting of 6 electrons has 3 energy states with energies half kT, 3 by 2 kT, and 5 by 2 kT. 3 electrons have opposite spin with respect to other 3 electrons, and they obey Pauli's exclusion principle. So electrons are distributed in a particular system in accordance with the Pauli's exclusion principle. Calculate the total energy of the system and average energy of the electrons. We have to find total energy of the system and average energy of the electrons. Look at the problem once again. The system is consisting of 6 electrons. 6 electrons are there. 3 energy states are there. And those energy states are having the energies 1 by 2 kT, that is energy of one state, 3 by 2 kT, energy of the second state, 5 by 2 kT is the energy of third state. These electrons are distributed in accordance with Pauli's exclusion principle. So according to Pauli's exclusion principle, no 2 electrons can have same set of quantum numbers. So in one state, 2 electrons can be occupied, having opposite spin. And it is given that out of 6 electrons, 3 electrons have opposite spin with respect to the other 3. So 3 electrons have up spin, the other 3 electrons have down spin. Definitely, in each state, 2 electrons can be occupied. Okay. So what are the given quantities you find? Total number of particles N is equal to 6. Energy of first state is half kT. Energy of second state E2 is equal to 3 by 2 kT. And energy of third state E3 is equal to 5 by 2 kT. Okay. Then you have to find it according to Pauli's exclusion principle, you have to distribute the electrons. Also, 3 electrons have opposite spin with respect to other 3 electrons. According to Pauli's exclusion principle, only 1 electron can occupy the given state. Since electrons have 2 spins, each state can be occupied by 2 electrons with opposite spin. So 3 states are there, 6 electrons are there. Therefore, in each state, 2 electrons can be occupied. In the first state, 2 electrons. In the second state, 2 electrons. In the third state, 2 electrons because of the opposite spin. ಈ 6 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಗೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಸ್ಪಿನ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಆಕ್ಯುಪೈ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದಿಸ್. Because of opposite spin, in each state you can occupy 2 electrons. You can accommodate 2 electrons. Now you calculate what is the total energy of the system. So you know that in state 1, 2 electrons are there. In state 2, 2 electrons are there. In state 3, 2 electrons are there. So therefore, all 3 states occupied by 2 electrons each. So that is N1 is equal to N2 is equal to N3 is equal to 2. In first state, 2 electrons are there. That is N1. N2 is the number of electrons in second state. N3 is the number of electrons in third state. All are equal to 3. Okay. Sorry, 2. That is equal to 2. Therefore, the total energy of the system is given by, so total energy of the system is given by energy of first state into number of particles. Okay. 1 particle idre energy E1, 2 particle idre energy is 2 times E1, like that. So total energy of the system is equal to energy of first state into energy of number of particles in the state plus E2 into N2 plus E3 into N3. So energy into number of particles of first state plus corresponding product of second state and product corresponding to third state. Substitute the values. You put N1 is equal to N2 and N3. They are all same. That is equal to 2. I will take it out. Energy of first state is half kT. Energy of second state is 3 by 2 kT. Energy of third state is 5 by 2 kT. Add them. So 1 by 2 plus 3 by 2 plus 5 by 2. It will be 5 plus 3 plus 1. That is 9 by 2 kT. So total sum of the bracket is 9 by 2 kT. 2 gets cancelled. You will get total energy equal to 9 times kT. That is the total energy of the system. Okay, 9 kT. Second question, we have to find the average energy of the system, particles of the system. The average energy of the electron is average E average or E bar is equal to total energy divided by number of particles. That is very simple, taking the mean value. Okay. Total energy of all the particles divided by total number of particles present. Just you have calculated total energy of the system is 9 kT. Therefore, E average equal to 9 kT divided by 6. Total number of particles present is 6. 9 kT by 6. Therefore, the average energy of the system is 3 by 2 kT. So therefore, the total energy of the system is 9 kT and the average energy of the electron is 3 by 2 kT. So each electron is on an average having 3 by 2 kT. Okay, this is how you can calculate the energy of the system and average energy of the system. And also you have to take care of the conservation laws, and according to the condition you have to distribute the particles. That is a distribution function. That is a condition describing the distribution of particles. And in this problem, Pauli's exclusion principle is the condition to distribute the particle. Okay.